All right, guys, disappeared there for a bit. Basically, had a power cut mid-flow, so I've just started this one again. Hopefully, the connection is good enough because one of the problems I get is if it affects the electronic talk to the internet at the same time as chatting. So apologies for that. I got cut off. But yeah, one of the things I want to say is, although we were talking in the last video about the working online, don't assume that you need to do that once you move to Spain. A lot of it you can start now. There's contracts I'm looking at myself where I'll still be doing some contract work on top of my other stuff because I want to get the property stuff ahead. So things like on Upwork, Freelancer, um, pay per hour, there is job opportunities there. If you're good with Excel, go on these sites. If you're good at selling, it's worth getting on these sites. If you're good at marketing, it's worth doing these sites because a lot of the work, if unless you're actually doing call center stuff, you can fit it around yourself. So, say for example, a business wants some of their spreadsheets converted into I don't know, a 3D graph or something. You can fit that around your day. So, like, say you're at work 9 till 5, then you think I'll have dinner, then I'll do it then. A lot of this stuff fits in like that. So you can do an extra couple of hours a day doing these other projects. I know a lot of people that actually do 2 full-time jobs because once you understand what customers need, because some of them will keep coming back for something similar. You know, for example, if you were doing like I say, a graphic display graph from their data, and they're providing the data, and you've set up the spreadsheet to interpret the data, it's as simple as clicking a button for it to do it automatically. So the point being is you can automate a lot of this stuff. And I've got friends that do it. I've got friends that got people filling in forms. And then once the forms are filled in, it does it by itself because they invested a bit of time at the beginning just to get things up and running. There's a few people I know that work online. Article writing is another one. There's a lot of niches out there that you can find bits and pieces to work on. But one of the things I do recommend, though, is you need to find something you're good at. I mean, I'm fairly good at photography, but I'm not good at stock photography. So I've got to reanalyze that myself and understand how I can generate more income through stock photography. There's another niche. Pond 5. You can use sell stock photos, stock videos. There's another one. But a lot of these are not going to be paying your bills until you get to a certain level. They will take time. You know, if you imagine it's your business and you go on one of these websites and say, hey, come and do my accounts. Not many people trust somebody to do their accounts. What they'll do is ask for smaller tasks, then just keep adding because you've got to build that trust up. So bear that in mind when you're looking at these jobs. They may not be what you want. You may not get as much work initially. You've got to build the trust up. And once you start getting that rolling, the rest will follow on from that. But one of the things which this is sort of relevant for is when you look at the cost of a mortgage on a property here, say a 3 bedroom, you'll probably find that if you can find this work online, just that bit of work online can actually pay for that. No joke. It could actually cover the mortgage every month. Now, if you get a tenant in there that's paying your mortgage, one of the things I do recommend is paying the rest of it, paying it twice. Because you've got, say, a 25-year mortgage and you can clip 10 years off of it, why not? You've just got to weigh up the options, what works for you. Myself, if I get 4 properties here, I don't need to work again. Not that I wouldn't work, but the point being is if I pay those off, there's no mortgage on them, we're set up for retirement. And don't get me wrong, I'm not. Am I not that old? I'm not even halfway for a lot of people. My let's just say I'm not 50. I'm in my mid 40s. So the point being is, even setting this up now, it's set up for the long term. But if you can work in the UK and pay your bills off here, or use it to get another deposit to rent out another property, you've got a steady cash flow coming in. The UK can fund this on its own. One of the things I recommend is not getting into the domino effect risk, where a lot of people leverage. They'll get a mortgage and maybe lend against that property because they paid something off, to borrow money to pay for another mortgage to get another property. I don't recommend doing that. The idea for me is basically you want to have 50% paid off in all the properties where possible. So, like, for example, I'll buy the first one and I go in and pay 50% off at day one, but then I rent it out. Well, I may not actually pay the rest of that one off. I may actually save so I can buy another one. And then the focus will be to pay 50% off on the second one. So at least half is paid off in the two properties before I buy another one. The main goal here is to actually get them, for me, paid off. So when I decide to just call it a day and just sit on my backside, there is very little debt on properties. And that's one advantage you've got compared to the UK. You find people struggling to even get a deposit for a place in the UK these days because, if I took, let's pick a town. I don't know. I'll just go for Bournemouth, just randomly, just to get an idea of price. So we look at something in Bournemouth. One bedroom flat, £165,000 in Bournemouth. So, one bedroom flat in La Mata. If you went studio, I've seen a couple at around 35,000 euros. If you went one bed, you're talking around probably about 50,000. Two bed, around 60,000 upwards. Realistically, your money goes a lot further in Spain because it's not just about the property you bought, in the sense of you paid, say, 165,000 for a property, a one bedroom in the UK. You've got one bed, 165 plus the interest on that mortgage, which is much, much bigger. In Spain, you can pay chunks of it off much faster. You can get it rented out easy enough. You can use it as a second home. The council tax, all that sort of stuff, is nowhere near the same level as the UK. I don't see the market here crashing. I don't see the market changing much. People keep talking about the crisis, but the way I see this is, if there was a financial crisis, a lot of these properties have already took the hit. So the owners that own them either will want to sell at some point, which they would have sold already, or the ones that are selling, a lot of it's down to the fact they're getting old. They get a top floor apartment with steps. They can't get up there anymore, or the kids don't want to come here anymore because they've been coming to the same place for the last 30 years. But for me, I live here. This is home. So it's that's not going to change for me. If you're worried about getting arthritis yourself, live on the ground floor or get a block with a lift in it. But it's definitely worth looking at it from an investment point of view. And it is worth, if you're wanting to come out here, one of the easiest things you can help with is actually looking at the property investment that can help fund itself. I'm bear in mind, I'm not a real estate agent. I'm not selling mortgage. I'm not selling anything. I'm saying to look into this yourself. I'm not selling you anything. But I'm just saying, from what I've looked at and the profit margins and wanting to be here full time, property is probably one of the easiest things that makes sense because it's on the coast. People go, oh yeah, but even myself, I'll say, yeah, but a lot of these are older properties. They are. It's not a property I want to live in much of the time, but at the same time, they're easy to rent because it's nearly front line. It's 2 streets away, so it's easy to rent. But at the same time, they're older properties. Buy a new one, you're paying similar to UK prices, and I just can't see the point of that. You get, like I say, some of the new ones up there are €300 a day rent, for the holiday season and stuff. But I also see a lot of empty properties a lot of the time, so you've got to gauge it yourself. Connor Van Grant, Matt, my current situation, English speaker with master's degree, one child and one wife, want to move to south of Spain. What's your outlook on the amount needed for down payment in Malaga and jobs? Malaga is not my area. Malaga, there is a lot of Brits down there. I'd recommend having a look in Facebook groups, chatting with people who run them. They'll give you an insight in that area, because there is jobs in Malaga because of the tourism. You'll probably find there's a lot more manual work as well, because there's a lot of people there with more money. So there's a lot of stuff that they simply don't want to do. So like pool maintenance and stuff. Air conditioning is another one. Air conditioning is another one I'm looking at myself, which is another reason I'm going back to the UK, so I can get my training done. So the point being is, you've got to make it. Nobody's going to give you and say, hey, here's a job. You've got to sit there and hunt these things down, because you've got people coming in from all over the place looking for work. HGV driving, there's job options with HGV. Bus driving, there's options around the airports. Jet2 and Ryanair are constantly advertising for people to do the bus routes for the for the tourists. So there is options there that are worth looking at. One of the things I do recommend is looking at stuff you can do before you move over. And like that, it's expensive to do your HGV. It's expensive to do your what's it, PSV, public service vehicle. So doing those, you're opening up extra options for yourself. But you know what? They still wouldn't speak Spanish. So down payment wise, if you're buying, I'd say have a look online. But Malaga's a lot more expensive than the area we live in. One of the reasons I moved is like when I moved to the Philippines, a lot of the stuff we do is actually around cost savings, not, if it's going to cost me as much to live here as it does in the UK, it sort of defeats the object in many ways. The point being is, I look to get as much out of my money as possible. So, Stern Wanderer mentioned you can bring your work over in some cases. I negotiate my managers to work remotely from Spain, so I basically kept my job and just moved. I've had that as well myself. Did a lot of work for the NHS, dealing with all their spreadsheets relating to buildings. So sometimes it does work that way. Lazy Lad, I've got 90. I've got my HGV license. Is there work all year round? There is, because I know a couple of guys that actually do. They're predominantly doing food produce to the UK, bizarrely. But yeah, there's work around. One of the things I would actually recommend is trying to get hold of some of the hauliers, the agencies as well, because agencies hold a lot of work. And just engage with companies now. But like I said, one of the things it's worth doing is getting at least some basic Spanish in there, because if they see an email in English, they may not respond to it, because they go, well, I ain't going to translate that. Because there is other people looking for work as well. But I do find that HGV work, there's a few people I know that are doing it. We've got friends that actually go to, I think, Poland and Ukraine as well. So it's not all to going in the UK. It goes the other way as well. Because I know, for example, there's a furniture place in Torrevieja, which is a Ukrainian firm. They make all the furniture in Ukraine and bring it to Spain. So there is work around. But one of the things I do also recommend is using Facebook groups. There's a lot of idiots in there, don't get me wrong, but you will also find that there is some good people as well. It's a mix of that. You get some people like, if you ask an open-ended question, you'll get sarcasm. But at the same time, you'll also get some people that give you a positive response. So you just got to weigh up those options and get the right information. But yeah, there's HGV work. And you may even find there's HGV work talking to firms in the UK. Because I know, I don't know if Taylors and Martley still do it, but Taylors and Martley was predominantly Eastern European drivers. And a lot of the stuff was actually going in and out. So the thing is, You could even go, even be working for a UK firm coming to Spain. There is options in there. So yeah, it's like I say, I can't say that one size fits all because I don't know the firms, but there is a lot of people that find ways around the driving because driving's always in demand. Oh, Victor, by the way, hi, how are you? I read it and then forgot to mention it. Stephen Birth, good mid morning, Matt. Hope all's well. Yeah, all's good. Yeah, it's all sunny. Things are starting to recover. There's a lot of people going through the major cleanup operations in some areas. But yeah, it's about 30 odd degrees here, so I can't grumble. One of the other things I do recommend, if you want to work online, I know we've covered this already, there's a lot of free training out there. YouTube's riddled with it. So if you decide you want to try and move to an online job and you have zero experience in something, a lot of information is already out there. A lot of the stuff I do, I mean, I've got another channel. I get people thank me for some of the stuff I do on Excel because there's some stuff with quite complex formula in there. The point being is a lot of stuff, I'll be perfectly blunt, a lot of the stuff I do on my day job is very, very complex, relating to financial equations and financial planning for a 25-year window based on a lot of criteria and specific data. So you get very in depth with Excel. But a lot of companies, this is where a lot of my work actually comes from, is because a lot of people don't even understand it to that level. You've got to understand the Excel, you've got to understand the data itself to a very, very deep level and understand what's missing, what's been done wrong, analyze other people's formula and equations and mathematics, and try and work out what's actually going wrong in a lot of the companies, because a lot of the time it has been done wrong for years. But at the same time, there's a lot of training out there that is completely free. So if you start seeing, because a lot of time you can see what people want, and you can go, right, I don't know how to do that, but I'd like to do that. So if you wanted to learn about, say, social media marketing, there's a lot of stuff out there that will teach you about social media marketing. There's some very cheap training courses that will give you a little certificate on it. So the point is you can get your head around it, you get the basics of it, but also it's worth getting into groups relating to that type of work as well, because you'll get some information if you befriend some of the people. Some of the people are a bit marketeers that have been out there for years. You will get a lot of crap as well. You get a lot of people trying to sell you a course, trying to sell you their mystical fountain of financial gold, in the sense that they believe they found something. There's the golden nugget of generating phenomenal amounts of money. Ignore all that crap. What you want is actual understanding of how it actually works, how it operates, how you get this to work, like social media marketing for things like LinkedIn, Instagram's a big one for restaurants and businesses. E-commerce is another business area to look at because you can do it through drop shipping and other things. But it's fairly expensive, but the information out there is free. So it's worth investing some time in it. This is where I picked up a lot of my stuff over the years, was from other people's experiences. This is why I share my experiences and stuff, because it's sort of like paying it forward, because if I found something that worked, I'm quite happy to share it. Now the air conditioning stuff, I know will be a growing business here. And it will take time to get there because, we've got to buy the equipment, got to get a van, got to get the marketing side right. May have to get a unit because we want to move from air conditioning into solar water heaters, underfloor heating and other things. It'll take time and investment. But to be sustainable here and sort of sit still just paying bills, working online can do that for me. Carlos does better than me because he's very good at telemarketing stuff. I find it very tedious doing telemarketing, and he's good at what he does. I won't, he's very, very good at selling. Myself, I'm more around numbers. I'm more like a accountant than anything else. Um, but yeah, the opportunities are there. You need to drag all the information in, throw the crap, because you'll drag it all in and go, well, he just wants to sell me his course. He wants to sell me his ebook. He wants to, and get rid of the gunk and just focus on the stuff that actually is real. It'll take time. You'll find you'll spend as much time going through the garbage as you will actually learning something. But the bits you do learn are very, very practical and useful. It's a bit like when people talk about, like YouTube. YouTube, you'll get people saying it's a complete waste of time, not making money, da 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 da. Yet they're still pushing out YouTube videos. Why is that? Oh yeah, because they're making money from it. Myself, I don't make much money on YouTube. I'll be very open with that, but I have no problem with sharing my experiences on it. One of the things I believe is in the terms and conditions. I can't really tell you how much I earn, but for me, I don't even get the money. The money goes to the Philippines. It funds the houses and stuff we get out in the Philippines because we've got 6 apartments out there. So that deals with maintenance and other bits and pieces out there. But there's a prime example of utilizing a revenue stream in your spare time to pay your bills. And there's options there. Victor Garcia, Lazy Lad 90, thanks for the advice. You're welcome. But one of the things I will say is don't give up. You just got to keep hitting away at it. There was a woman who went from the UK to New Zealand. I think she was from, I'm not sure if she was from Blackpool. And she had this little she used to sell the old women's scarves, and they have this little woggle that went on there. And that's what she used to sell in Blackpool. She got on a flight, I think she had £200 and a phone number in her pocket. And she went to New Zealand, and she arrived there and rang this phone number of this guy. I don't even know if he had the TV channel at the time, but she does the what do you call it? The TV shopping type channels. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not my thing, but she's a multimillionaire. But she said she arrived just with that £200, phone number, and she rang the guy and says, "I can sell anything. You give me the opportunity, I will sell you anything." And the view that she had is she can get it wrong 200 times, but she only has to get it right once. And that's the way to look at this. You may spend a lot of time thinking, this is a waste of time, this is garbage. And then you suddenly find something that works. It's like when I got into crypto. There was a friend of mine that brought it to my attention, Jay. He brought it to my attention. He was going, "Matt, have a look at this. What do you think of this?" And I had a look at it, and I could see how it worked, the marketing and everything else. And I thought, yeah, I could do that. And he did it and we did it. And we made some decent money and not very hard at doing it. I'm not just talking about trading. We made money trading. We made money marketing. We made money affiliate marketing and all sorts. Because the point was we looked at it and thought, perfect timing. There's an interest in the market, and we did good money on it. Was that opportunity something I do normally? No. But when we looked at it, it was perfect. Perfect timing, everything else. It paid for the car, paid for me for life in Spain for a whole year, and a little bit more. Victor Garcia, Matt, when buying a property in Spain, do you need to pay 20% down payment? Can you get around with paying less, or would you pay some insurance? It depends on your setup, because speaking with the bank, a lot of it's based on the income and stuff. So they're actually wanting, at the moment, they give me a criteria of 30% with Sabadell, because although I have regular income, they have no idea. They've got no pay slips or nothing from me. It's just money I generate. So the point being is they want 30%, but also then you've got 10% tax on that as well. And then you've got your bits and pieces, your fees and stuff. So you got to look into that yourself, because you may actually go in there, like when I start UK work, and then I submit my pay slips from that, they may go, just pay 20%, because they can see their work is government related. They can see that it's a long-term thing. They can see that it's with a large corporation, there's a lot of stability in it. So they may actually go 20%. Insurance wise, yes, always get insurance. Recent weather here in Spain tells you why you get insurance. It's a bit like Igor, for example. He's got a penthouse apartment, and the ceiling collapsed because it had a small leak, and then but the thing is above the ceiling, it was full of water from this heavy rain, and the ceiling collapsed. The insurance company came out yesterday, and that's getting sorted now. But don't get me wrong, he can do all the working repairs himself. He probably will do, but at least he'll get the insurance company to pay him for doing his own repairs. Stern Wanderer, can I recommend any literature on those topics? Which ones are you looking at? What I would recommend, if you want anything specific, for example, you want to learn Excel, send me an email. If you want to learn about business-to-business marketing, send me an email. Because there's a lot of information in there. It's like myself, I'm looking at doing tutorials on Excel, even Gmail, because a lot of people don't really use Gmail, Outlook, Office 365 to the abilities of it. They often just go, well, I've got an email, I send an email. There's a lot of other stuff you can do. A lot of people get a lot of junk mail and just go delete every day. Yet they don't put any filters and things on there. They'll just take all that stuff straight out without even having a look at it or ever see it. So it's a very broad spectrum of stuff. So yeah, you'd have to tell me exactly what you're looking for, and I can help you with that. That's not a problem. I read a lot of stuff myself. A lot of the tutorial stuff around Excel, I normally do on specifics. If you're looking at something from a new perspective, the LinkedIn ones with lynda.com, I would say are the easiest ones to start with, because they seem to be written as if you have no understanding of something. Which frustrates me, because I'm my sort of person who go, all right, click there, move that, that's that. Okay, finished, I've got that now. But when people go, all right, we're going to click over here. And the reason we click over here is because, for me, it's too long-winded. I want the end result. That's just the way I am. So some of it I find frustrating, but you will find that a lot of those courses are easier to understand if you're doing something new. Once you get a bit more advanced, you may actually turn around and go, oh, this is annoying. But you've got to understand a lot of it's designed around business users. And it may be for somebody that's having to do a new task in the business, and it's like, right, you need to do this course, and their boss tells them to do it. But the good thing about all those courses is you get certificates. And if you ever looked at my LinkedIn, there's about 400 certificates for the lynda.com courses, because I've done a lot of them. In the last week, I've just finished a course on facilities management. Now, don't get me wrong, I do facilities management all day long, but the problem is my certification has always been engineering, in the sense I've got electronics, I've got carpentry and joinery, I've got City and Guilds in everything but facilities management. So I went and did a facilities management course, and I've just started a new one on project management. We're doing a diploma in project management next. Matt, if you're looking to exit that, why bother? Realistically, the pay grade, there's about an extra £10,000 to £20,000 a year by upgrading my qualifications. And it ain't going to be jobs I can do remotely, don't get me wrong, but the difference in that means that my wife can travel to UK and I can travel to Spain, and it doesn't impact our finances too much. So that's why I'm doing it. But I also recommend anybody to constantly move forward with their qualifications when they can. It's worth doing. I know some of these jobs aren't really going to see much of a difference, but I mean, it's like when I did my carpentry and joinery. The reason I did it is the company I worked for paid an extra 36 pence an hour. So I went and did my carpentry and joinery and got my City and Guild, so they would give me the extra 36 pence. Obviously, that was a long time ago, but yeah. Any other questions? Victor The insurance, by the way, I'm going to have a look at one of the insurance companies myself and see if I can open up as a broker. The reason being is I keep giving a lot of stuff away, and I get told off by some people because, like with that, I could get you an insurance quote, and then you go, oh yeah, like it or not, yes or no, and then obviously I benefit from giving you the information. So it becomes worth. It has a financial worth for the long term. And the thing is, the more financial value in this channel and life in Spain becomes, the more I can develop the channel and other things. Like the property business. Once the property business develops, you'll see a lot more about how the business actually operates. And because I'm not really fussed if we end up with some competition on it, because one of the differences you'll get with me is honesty. Don't get me wrong. There is honest people out there, but a lot of people are trying to get as much out of it for themselves. And even some people I know personally will do that. But other people are fantastic. I mean, Eagle's fantastic. I mean, Eagle's never ripped me off. It's, even in emergencies, he's come around and done stuff on a Sunday when I've been in the UK. We had this apartment we're in, flooded the apartment below when we lived in there. The water tank, destroyed the water tank. It destroyed the electrics, and he repaired them on a Sunday. Didn't overcharge me. The job was done. And the thing is, I know it's done right, and that's the way I like things. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit there when somebody does something wrong and hammer them. You only get hammered after it's not corrected, like the garage with the car. They got hammered after they hadn't fixed it, after it had been in 5 times and was steadily getting worse, not better. That's when I started giving them grief and started naming who they are. And it's not our bitterness, it's just that if that's the way they deal with it, then it's obviously not just me affected by it. Victor Garcia, aren't most of the PM positions moving to what? Project management, I see. Moving to remote work. The more I look at job offers, the more remote keeps popping up. They say remote, but it's not remote. And what they mean is they don't want to pay you for an office. I've had this conversation so many times because the majority of my work is what they call home-based, but you have to be in the country. So, and they don't actually mean you're working from home at all. They mean that you'll be in the car, company car, in Aberdeen or in Wales or in London. What they mean is they don't want to see you at the office. So a lot of those jobs aren't really that remote, beyond the fact is they want you to roam around. The sort of saying before, where I spent a lot of time in hotels. I was living in like Premier Inn a lot of the time. Premier Inns around Edinburgh and Glasgow, 4.5 months of Premier Inns. Same menus every day, all that sort of stuff. Sorry, that's not fair. It's longer than 4.5 months. I was out there twice. Did Glasgow one time. I think that was about 4 weeks. And then come back, and then I did 4 months in Edinburgh. Did 4.5 months in the Ibis in Oman. So they'll word it that it's remote. What it means is they're not giving you an office, but a lot of time they still want you on site, wherever the site may be, which can be a bit frustrating because they expect you to be there at 8:30 in the morning and stuff. That's why you've got to be very careful when you read the contracts, because sometimes they'll say they'll pay the first 30 minutes. You've got to give them the first 30 minutes. Others will say the first hour. It's in it. It's very tightly written in the contract. Victor goes, I'm a project manager. I'm thinking about asking to work remotely since I don't have a need to go to the office. It doesn't come out. I'll look into a different company. It's worth approaching them. I'll give you an example of this. I was doing a survey for the NHS. It was 600 hospitals and clinics, 30 surveyors, and they needed somebody to analyze all the data that was coming back. So it was more of a data analysis role, but also quality checking and sacking surveyors that basically weren't doing their job. So the point being is, I got all the information from 30 different people, analyzed it, and then fed it to the client. Now, when I originally went for the first meetup with the CEO of the company, he rejected me. He says, well, I need you to go here, here, here. And I said, no, I ain't doing that. And he said, well, but that's the way we work. And I said, but all this is on a spreadsheet. Why do I need to travel around just to sit at a computer? So he rejected it. Then it had a high fail rate of the standard was going back to the client and they rejected it. It just wasn't good enough. So he then contacted me, I think it was about 2 days or 2 weeks later, and said, I've had a relook at your CV. Could you take over the quality control and everything of it? So that's when I then worked remotely for 10 months with 30 surveyors. Don't get me wrong, the surveyors aren't idiots. It's just that a lot of the time they are biased towards working with their hands. They are often not very good with their spreadsheet information. So the data can be naff sometimes, and you'll find like they'll do a clinic, and you look at it and go, all right, there's no fire shutters, no fire dampers, no smoke detectors, no automated front doors, CCTV systems, and you go, was there one there? Was there one there? And they go, no, I don't remember. And then they would have to go back and look at their cost because they're supposed to survey the entire building. Once you did that for a week, guess what? They don't want to go back twice. But you're constantly going through and you'll question everything. Now that I could do remotely, and it was because the company that was contracted to do it was being penalized. Now, they didn't want to do it that way. They wanted me to, basically work in an office somewhere to sit at the front of a computer. So one of the things you have to look at is how does that fit in with the business? Is there a value in it? Is the business going to say, right, okay, that's fine, we know you're good at this and blah, blah, blah. It can work that way. Another contract, 90% of it was spreadsheet, but the other bits and pieces, they wanted you to go to the meetings here and there. They were requesting you to do their work for them because they didn't understand what they're reading. But my argument on that was, but you're supposed to understand what you're reading because I generate all the information you're supposed to work with for the next year. If you don't understand it, you need to get another job. But yeah, some companies will work with you and some will work against you. But yeah, it is a bit of hard work to try and get a company to work with you remotely, especially if you're going to Spain. There's an obsession. It's like as if you're saying, I've gone to India. They don't understand that Alicante Airport pretty much gets into every major airport in the UK. You can get to most places without any problems, but they'll still go, oh yeah, but what if? Yeah, what if? Yeah. I had this problem with a company before where I couldn't get flights back at the weekend because they wouldn't tell me where I was on the Friday on purpose. They wouldn't tell me where I was on a Monday till 8 o'clock on a Friday. The idea being is in case they needed me. And as I explained to them on multiple occasions, I don't work after 5 o'clock. My contract says it doesn't work after 5 o'clock, and weekends aren't in my contract. And I haven't signed out of the working time directive. So I don't understand what you're expecting if you phone me up on a Saturday afternoon because you treat me like this. What do you think the response is going to be? So yeah, but there is opportunities there. You are right. Some companies will have that flexibility, and some of them will want you in 4 days a month, or you make a level of commitment that works for you and the business. One of the things you need to tie down though is get that contractual. Even if it's like, we'll try it for a month and see how it goes. And then after that month, have a reassessment. Is it working? Yeah, fine. Write up a contract on it. The reason for that being is you get management changes and you'll get somebody coming to the office that's got a completely different view on how everything should be run and everything else. And they may say, oh, yeah, but we need you in the office every day. And you're going, but I don't actually need to be here at all because even the work I do is not even in this building. It's 400 miles away. But yeah, it's one of those frustrations. Yeah, Stone Wanderer had the same situation. Probably in my case, that there is a maximum amount of time they were allowed to send off an employee to another country. Yeah, yeah. Secondments is another thing. Although if you do a secondment, you don't have to change your car number plates, by the way, in 6 months as a resident of Spain, because there's another thing related to seconding to a country. Because don't get me wrong, you'll go into mostly the majority of people you'll talk to get that done, and they won't have an idea what you're talking about. But there is a secondment. I think it's a 2-year window, so you wouldn't have to change your car plates for 2 years. It was set up as a secondment in the fact that you're working for the same company in another country. Stone one. My contract will end in December, and I'll have to figure out how to sustain myself here after that. I recommend getting into some of the online working places because there is project management in them. I've seen it, but like I said, just be careful when they say remote working. Get them to define it, because I get it from some of the recruitment agencies saying, "Oh yeah, we want somebody to come here and just come into the office once a month," and I'm like, okay. But is it really once a month? I say, oh yeah, except for the team meetings. So how often do you have to go? Well, there's only a couple hours. So yeah, but I'm not here. So when are you having them? I mean, twice a week, twice a month, or whatever. Can it be done on Skype? You know, you've got to make sure that they're setting up to both your benefits, because otherwise what happens is you agree to something and then they start pulling it apart. A company in the UK tried to do this, and funny enough, I turned the job down because they wanted 3 days a week in, I think it was London. And I said, I ain't going to London 3 days a week just for meetings. Because the work wasn't in London. It was basically just to go there so that they could see you in the office. And then the next thing is, I said, well, this won't work for me, but I've got somebody else that will does similar to me, and I put him forward. And he said the same. And they said, well, what about 1 or 2 days a week? I said, but you already said it was 3. And then it'll be 4. Then it'll be 5. And then there's no point working here because I spend half my life on the train. So, yeah, welcome to my world. I'm in the US, and one thing I am looking to is the economic airlines traveling into Spain so I can get their credit card and use it to travel back and forth. Victor, I would say you probably got more flexibility from the US. US are more open. The UK companies are a lot of them are still stuck in 1950s mentality. I find it much easier to deal with US companies. This is why I do a lot of work in Upwork. I'm getting work from all over the place, but one of the main places is the US, because the US are more open to remote working. So it's definitely worth looking at. Another thing you've got to look at from that point of view is if you approach some of the companies, I don't know what your skills are, but if you look at what you do, it may be worth contacting companies in your areas that you can have a face-to-face with and just say, you're looking at moving over. Would you be interested in the services? Maybe starting a small business part-time or something, developing something for the long term. Because I've got friends out in the Philippines that have done that. They've got businesses they run from the Philippines, and all the tax and everything's fine because they're a US citizen. Because the US, they tax globally, so it doesn't really affect where they are. They're still going to get taxed either way. So you've got to take that on board. There may be reasons. I'm just messaging April. She's out there. The women in Spain have had a meet-up today in Playa Flamenca. Yesterday, they were actually a gathering down here at Lazina. Lazina? No. Zana Kebab. Too many Zs for me. But yeah, there is definitely work out there. And like I said, Upwork, people per hour, these sites have got a regular flow of work. There's a lot of nomads that live on this stuff. Don't get me wrong, a lot of the pay isn't fantastic, but as somebody mentioned on the other channel, a lot of time you've got to use it as a loss leader. It's like Fiverr.com. You may get somebody doing some like a logo design, and you're happy with the logo, and then say, right, I want some banners designed, but I'm not really sure what I want. You can go back to the same person and maybe do it even privately, where you're actually buying their talent and not just getting a cheap logo, but actually wanting a $400 design or something that's more in depth and to the level they can work to. Because in Fiverr, a lot of it is just the basic stuff. Don't get me wrong, there's some fantastic people on there, but a lot of it is a loss leader. They'll do it cheap just to make connections with people. Same with, like I was saying, somebody mentioned me with Excel, because once you start getting, people say, oh, can you do this? And they go, oh, yeah, that's fantastic. Can you do this? Oh, you can do that as well. Can you do this? Can you take over my accounts? And there is ways to work with that. Yeah, so telecom construction. I can work on their closeout packages, and it wouldn't affect my work. Would be get a pay cut, but it would be worth it. Well, you probably find, like I said, the quality of life here in Spain is good. I don't know where you are in the US, but you may find that it may be cheaper cost of living, and obviously it's a new country, so you've got to weigh up all the options. But I love it out here in Spain. I love the fact of the it's just slow paced. And one of the things I find that I don't really worry about money here, bizarrely. Sounds a bit strange, I know. But it's like I worked in the UK, for 8 months, and I've still got enough money for the next year in that period of time. At the same time, if I go back to work now, I can buy the first apartment, get it rented out, and guess what? That then generates maybe an extra €100 a month on top of the rent. Doesn't sound a lot, but the other bit's paying the mortgage off, and then you get another one, and another one, and another one, and then you get to the point where you're going, buy another one, and I'll live in it, and then you're paying your own mortgage, because the owner of this one isn't ready to sell yet, which is pity, because this is the one I would want to buy, because obviously getting my own cost down works. There you go, New York City, that's cost you a fortune then, I bet. It's because I mean, New York's not a cheap place to be living at all. So you'd have a massive amount of savings depending where you went on Spain. Because I mean, it's like anyway, if you go into the major cities and it's somewhere nice and somewhere, the prices shoot up. So yeah, it depends where you go, but I would say overall you're going to find cost savings. Anybody else got any other questions as well? I'll just check my phone because I've got a couple of messages coming in. But like I said, a lot of the time you just got to be open to opportunities. Oh, and that's another thing I've got to sort today. I got the new SIM from my phone, but as you can see there, emergency only. So I've got to chase them up. I don't know if they've not activated it or whatever. Yeah, it's sorry, an air conditioning job. It's an easy job to do, just for a pipe replacement. But the leaving yourself open to opportunities lets you see things you can do remote. Because the thing is, a lot of time you've got to change the way you look at things. For example, I say I do a lot on facilities management. Well, the problem with facilities is, guess what? It's buildings. So a lot of it is tied to where the buildings are, which means it makes it very difficult to do it remotely unless you're dealing with large contracts where you're able to do bits and pieces, in the sense of you can do all the maintenance planning for 400 buildings, and that will keep you busy, and you can do that from home. Or you can do the budgeting from home. But as soon as you start getting things where you need to engage with people on site, you then start having to travel around wherever. I mean, I've been all over the place. I suppose near Yemen. I was just on the border with Yemen, in Oman, for example, Dubai, Qatar, um, all over the UK and some other places. But the point being is, if you start seeing that you want to move to Spain and not be tied to that sort of traveling and that anymore, you've got to come out of your comfort zone. You've got to look at other opportunities out there. Like with the project management, there may be other stuff within the project management that you can move on to. PPM planning being one of them. Maybe doing the CAD drawings, maybe moving to BIM management, looking at it from labor intensive stuff that's computer based. But don't get me wrong, they will still want you to come to some meetings at some point. But you can certainly adapt it a bit so it works in everybody's favour. After the Brexit, who knows what will happen, if it ever happens. I mean, there is a thing about the passports that's come up this week, which I'll mention. The new passports issued by the UK don't have the EU logo on them from the UK. Keep your old passport because you need to take that with you when you do your residencia. The reason being is that the authorities aren't allowed to accept any passports that don't have the EU logo. But if you take both, they'll accept it or should accept it. And you need to make them aware that they have to accept it. But thank you very much. It's Yeah, I find the Brexit a complete and utter farce, but I'm not getting into it too much. Victor, did the tourism die down there in La Mata already, or are still many people walking around? The tourism here changes. It's like seasonal. Like this time of year, it's more the pensioners, and they come from all over the place. A lot of Scandinavians and stuff start heading this way because they come down here for the winter. But the Spanish family stuff, yeah, that's gone. That's finished now. But you find throughout the year it's very different because you'll get like the grandparents with the grandkids. You'll get the families come. You'll get the pensioners come, and then throughout that you'll also get other people, single people, couples, and whatever, coming at all different times of the year because obviously the flights are fairly cheap to get to Spain from most of Europe. So it's okay until about November. It gets a bit quiet, but now there's still a lot of people wandering around. That's what I say. I was at Lazinia the other day, and I was surprised how busy it was because there's only about 5 shops open from what I see. All the big ones are closed beyond the supermarket. But even then, yeah, La Mata. The easiest way to tell is the number of cars outside. But yeah, it's a lot quieter than it was. It's definitely not a problem parking now. I'd say about 40% of the population's already gone, or 50% even. But there's still a lot of people still around. The beach is funny enough. We were at the beach yesterday because I was went down to have a look and see the damage further up, and I was surprised that the beach was full of people. Because I was expecting it to be pretty much empty, but it wasn't. Must have been at least 1.5, 2,000 people on the beach. From it slipped my mind now. From where the plaza is up to, it's not like Cura, see, I'm thinking of it now, and the restaurant I know is the same name of the place. But up past the boardwalk, there's about 2,000 people on there. There's people surfing and all sorts. So there's still a lot of people about, but it's nowhere near as busy as it was. But like I said, there's always somebody here. Yeah, there you go. A round ticket from New York to Madrid for $240 in October. You can also get flights from Madrid to, it depends where you want to go. I mean, Madrid to Alicante. Also, the bus does it as well, although the bus is every 12 hours. So bear that in mind. It's not a regular bus in the sense that if you miss the first one, you'll be sat there for 12 hours to the next one. Up to 12 hours. Yeah, I mean, $240 from the US is cheap. Um, yeah, it doesn't cover luggage. Yeah, I agree. Probably the most basic, but it's still very very cheap. Cole Malone, if you reboot your phone, it might activate your new SIM, or alternatively go online and activate it remotely. Funny enough, I can't get the activation code. That's one of the problems I've been having. But it now. Let's see if it comes back. Looks like my internet's going a bit jittery now. I wonder what's causing that. Let's see if the phone works. One of the things I do recommend if you are getting a phone, I'm testing it at the moment, but I've gone with Lobster, which is a new, um, fairly new network. Well, new provider. I can't call it a network because it's probably piggybacked on the other networks like most other places have. Let's see. But it covers UK calls, Ireland calls, and some other places. And it worked. You're right. Rebooted, and it's fine. Fantastic. Next question is, does my phone number work? Yeah, that's another bit of a warning for you. I cancelled the contract with Movistar because we had the satellite box, which we never watched at all. Um, it was like they sold it as part of a package, and it was cheaper to have the package initially because they throw it in as part of a deal, then it sort of rips you off. When we took it back, they deactivate the phones. They deactivate my SIM. So I said to Lobster, "Can you transfer my number over?" Well, they couldn't because Movistar instantly disconnected it, and it's like it's ours. So then I had to reconnect it. It says, "Oh, I'll go pay as you go," and so they put it back on. Cost me 5 years to pay for that, and then I've got to Lobster transfer my number over now. So I think that may be why it was deactivated. There's an easy way to tell. I'm going to give it a call because if it transferred over, let's just test it. Because you can keep your own numbers. That's one of the things I do want to make clear. Is this is why this was important? Because obviously you've seen I bought T-shirts and everything, so it's now dialing it. And the number is deactivated at the moment. Okay, I'll sort that out later. This is one of the things I do find frustrating with all this new technology that helps us is how much of it doesn't actually work properly. Um, like that should be a simple task, but it's often overly complex. The same as with things of moving away from even email, never mind calls. They're all like, oh, you need to use a live chat, you need to use our ticketing system, you need to do this. And it's like, why can't I just message you? Like with emails, like say you want to change something. With an email, I can send it 2 o'clock in the morning, just send it, and then not worry about it. Emails work. You just send it, and it comes back whenever it's finished. You're not chasing it. You're not sat there going, "I've got other things to do today." It's just done. So, enough of frustration today. Any other questions? But yeah, I mean, one of the things I do recommend, if you can keep your costs down in the UK, you can certainly look at property in Spain. And if you're looking at, like I said, if you're looking to retire here and want to buy, the earlier you do it, the better. You can use the money to rent it out and get somebody else to pay your mortgage off. But also, you if you're just doing it in the holiday season, the rest of the year you can come out whenever you want. You can find flights at like €19 or whatever, and think, oh, I'm going out to Spain for the weekend. Catherine is regularly out. She's got an apartment. It's an apartment or bungalow. I think it's a house. It's a house. It's 2 stories. She comes out quite regularly. When she's got gaps in work and stuff. So the point being is, the opportunities are there to actually utilize it. Get somebody else paying you more. Yes, you'll have to put the lump sum down. Yes, deal with the taxes. But after that, you've got somewhere as a retreat. And there is other benefits to this as well. The health side. I know I may sound like I'm overselling this, but it's like I was talking to Kim and Carl about their place because they've got an apartment. They own the Sands Bar. And one of the things they were saying is like they bought the apartment to rent it out reasonably because it could be used as a retreat. Because a lot of people, like if you're stuck with work on that hamster wheel, even if you come out on a like Friday night, spent the weekend here, you go back to work refreshed because you've come out, you've had that sun, you recharge your batteries, you're in a new environment, sitting at some cafes, and completely out of your day to day. It could be very, very beneficial from that point of view. But like I said, I'm not trying to oversell it. I'm just saying that there's a lot of reasons that it works. And, yeah, Co Malone, what's the cheapest way to get to La Mata from Alicante Airport on the 3rd of October? She doesn't want the hassle of 2 buses. I can give you Igor's number. Igor could sort a ride out, but the problem you've got is anything private, they're all about the same price. If you go with a taxi, you go with a private hire car, or whatever, because there only is the other option, which is the bus. I don't know if anybody does any shared transportation as well, because I have seen that in the Facebook sometimes where people are saying we're going to the airport on this date and they've got a minibus. But I've only seen that crop up maybe once or twice. But that'd be the cheapest option. If you shared it with a minibus with about 5 other people, then there'd be a split charge on the bus, and obviously you'll be one of the first off coming to La Mata because obviously it's before Torrevieja, or I suppose they might go to Orihuela Quesada first. I don't know, but that may be the better option. Is have a look at that. But like I said, you have to hunt down in the Facebook groups for that one because I've only seen it a couple of times. Anyway, guys, I'm going to let you enjoy the afternoon. If you want picked up privately, I can sort that out with Igor. Igor has a private hire. Enjoy the rest of the day. But it's just want to give a bit of food for thought today. And the fact is, there is other options out there. And you may find that you're working a specific job today, but you may not want to hop into another career that pays more when you may actually be better off sticking with that what you've got and looking at setting yourself up to be able to work remotely or doing it from home or doing it from Spain. Because the market's heading that way anyway. I know myself that when I was with Grillian, they were trying to get rid of the buildings, obvious why, but when you look at the cost of square meterage in a building, you look at business rates and stuff like that, there's many reasons that you could do it from Spain at the same cost or even a little bit more consulting, and it makes it cheaper for the business. You just got to find your new niche and look at how to move into it. That's why I'm looking at this. Like I said, I'm just doing, what's my new course? I'm just doing project management. I'm doing a diploma in project management. That's what I'm working on at the moment. I'm just waiting for all my paperwork to come through before I can start the course. But with that is to get set up, because a lot of the time, even if I'm not doing project management, there's a lot of the planning phases that can be done remotely. There's a lot of the scheduling, things like that, or dealing with suppliers, contracts and stuff that can be done remotely. So you've got to gauge where you can find some opportunities. I know it sounds very broad because that's what it is. You've got to find where the opportunities are. You may find that the real estate agents here may want to outsource all their advertising in the sense of somebody sitting going through Gumtree and all the other stuff. But in all honesty, a lot of the estate agents are sat around all day, so maybe not. But I also think there's a market for actually changing the way real estate agents work here, which is another thing I'm looking at the moment. I've been talking with Gareth about. But there's definitely opportunities around. You've just got to find them or make them. But anyway, guys, thanks for your time. Thanks for the day. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and please share and have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching.